There once was a wanderer who had wandered far and wide, taken the whole earth in his strides, and he started to wonder what's below my feet. So one day the wanderer found a sturdy shovel, and he started to dig down. Down, down, down he went, with a curiosity that was so intense. He dug down and down, and lend me your ear and your imagination too, to see what the wanderer found in a land old and yet somehow so new. Now, you and I, we have a little trick up our sleeves, you see. We have a map of this adventure to be. Now, this is the Earth, but you can see right through. That's a pretty cool trick, I'd say to you. Now, there are a couple of things to know about this map. Number one is that we have something called a key to look at. There may not be a door and there may not be a lock, but the key tells us what's what using color-coded dots. Give it a try. See that big pink part? Can you find its name? It'll be colored pink, just the same. Now the measurements here might be something new. It's a kilometer, km. Almost a mile, but short by about a third as the bird flew. Now there are 4 different layers that our wanderer will travel down. The first is the crust, and that's to be found at the surface of the earth, and it's rather thin, 1 to 100 kilometers. That's not much in the Earth's spin. After that, there's the mantle, and that's the bulk of the Earth. It makes up 85% of us, for what it's worth. It's about 2,850 kilometers deep. I said about for a reason. You see, these transitions are more like paper torn than a line straight cut. Next up is that orange layer. That's called the outer core. A brilliant liquid layer that is not to be ignored. About 2,200 kilometers deep. Finally, the yellow bit is the inner core, the center of our Earth, and such an important part. We'll get to that later in the story of the wanderer, as he follows his heart all the way down into the earth. I think it's about time to see what we're gonna find on this wandering journey that's yours and that's mine. It wasn't long before the wanderer had dug through the forest floor and hit the rock beneath. He hit the crust with a twing of his shovel, flew him back for a moment to the wall of his hole. Here we are, the adventure abounds. I wonder what will be found, thought the wanderer as he dug and dug and dug. So he dug, and you see that this shovel was special indeed. For the world that he dug through was made of solid rock. Rock that would bend a little and then break a lot. Rock that was thick and rock that was great. Rock that towered high as mountains and sunk low as lakes. And it didn't take him long to move through this layer that we call home. Because compared to the thickness of the whole big wide earth, there isn't that much there. Even though to us, it really feels like everywhere. The wanderer made it through the thin layer of crust. And all of a sudden, things had changed very much. For even though he was still surrounded by hard, solid rock, it was moving as though almost liquid, hard yet also soft. See, now he had reached the mantle, this massive bit of earth. Here in the mantle, things start to heat up. Yet, rocks can still cool and form their stuff. Rocks move and flow in massive, mighty swirls. It really is a magical world. Up here on the crest, we're like a boat floating along. On the mantle, while the earth sings its mighty song. Imagine the thickest and chunkiest of stews, with big chunks of carrots to chew. That's kind of like the mantle. Like the Wanderer said, hard yet not. Deeper and deeper he went through this sludgy, rocky stew. And it got hotter and hotter. And again, started to change into something new. By now, the Wanderer had started to reach the outer core. The deeper into the earth you get, the higher the temperatures soar. And those moving, flowing rocks that we found in the mantle above, well, they melt and turn into this mighty, mighty river of love. I say of love because it's part of our earth, and that's part of our home and part of our worth. Something to love, if you ask me. So let's see what the Wanderer sees. The Wanderer sees swirls and plumes of molten rock moving through and through. A wild world, deep, deep, deep beneath our feet. The outer core is like a roaring sea of swirling magma. Not the friendliest place for you and me. And then something new happened on the Wanderer's path. His shovel hit land that he could not pass. By now he had reached the core of the earth. A ball of solid metal, iron for what it's worth. At this point, we are so deep down that there's massive pressure coming from all around. That pressure turns everything into a solid, you see, because there's nowhere for the atoms to go except for the space that they already might be. And so the core of the earth is a big metallic ball. Our iron core is something special, y'all. The core has an amazing way of keeping us safe. Creates a force field of sorts to protect us from the more dangerous parts of outer space. So the next time that you look at the stars and think about how marvelous it is to live on this planet that we call home, think about the Wanderer's path and picture the core. And know that so much of what we have in store is thanks to the marvels of that iron at the center of our home. That bit that's so hard and so dense that even the Wanderer's shovel couldn't make it through the immense, immense center of our home. The Wanderer sat and gave gratitude for living a life where he never actually found solitude, because he was always surrounded by the wonders of life. For living on a planet that has so many mysteries abound, there's always something new to be found. And with this gratitude coursing through his veins, the wanderer journeyed back up and up and up, through the liquid layer of the outer core. And as the temperatures dropped, the rocks started to harden, still swirling all around in their magical way. Sometimes the wanderer would just stop and sway, spellbound by the beauty of the earth. Up and up the wanderer went. Things got cooler, slightly less dense. Finally, the wanderer made it to the crust, the hard, solid rock that we know, that we trust, that we see on the mountains, that we see in the hills, that we see when we think of the earth oh so round, the solid rock underground. And this time, the wanderer got curious about what was above. So when he made it out of that hole that he dug, out to the fresh air, well, the wanderer kept going up to the stars, up to something new. The wanderer thought, maybe there's another world out there that I can wander through.